Hey everyone. I am here so excited with Apryl Yarbro of the Yarbros.
Hey guys.
Okay, so I haven't told her this yet, but I had her on my list of people I want on my channel for like
Whoa.
at least a year. And I was like, I don't know, like I want to reach out, but I don't know what she's gonna say. And literally I reached out and she was like, let's do this. So
Look, I'm always like talking to my husband. I'm like, she just posted this, So I was like, wow, this is really cool. And your goals, like
oh,
financial wise and getting our stuff together and just living your life in Mexico City, stalking your stories, I so I'm so glad that you reached out and that we were able to meet virtually.
yes, I am really glad you guys are here. You're here. I know your husband's in the background. We already said
Yeah.
hi. Hey. But over here is always ladies' night. So it's the two of us today, one half of the Yarbros and me. I
No
saw someone
problem.
asking about technical problems. We are not having technical problems, but if you guys can't hear us or see us, let us know because we had technical problems earlier.
We thought we worked them out. So yeah,
I
it's
think
good
we're
to
good.
know.
I think we're good. We did not plan on matching today. This is just like a mind meld coincidence. So we're going to do this. I'm very happy that you guys are here. And I wanted to talk to Apryl because she is a long term nomad. We just talked about it. She's almost at 5 years of
Yeah,
traveling full time. And that is really impressive because this takes a lot out of you, right?
it
Like,
does. It does. Definitely.
traveling full time takes a lot out of you. And so I want to talk to her. But first, before we get anywhere, I saw something in the comments that I have to say, I have to address. Pearl is in Paris. Pearl, this is her dream trip. She's on her dream trip right now. She's one of my From Burnout to Bliss students. She's taking a little break in Paris. She's been dreaming about this for years. I didn't realize it was already
That's
time.
amazing.
So hey from Mexico City all the way to Paris. Hey Pearl, yay! I'm so excited for you. All right, now back to you, Apryl.
No problem. That's
Uh,
amazing. Paris is so beautiful.
yes. Okay, so you guys, I want you to throw some questions in the chat, but I'm going to start from the top where I like to take it all the way back. How did you and your husband decide to travel long term? What was the impetus for that?
Well, one of our immediate interests was travel. When we met, we both had passports. It's something that we've always wanted to do. And before we became nomads, we both had our separate careers and we do our best to stack as much PTO as we could, combine that with holidays that you didn't have to work, and try to take the longest trips we could. We enjoyed them, but it was only like maybe 4 days or 7 days. I think maybe the most was 9 days that we could take a trip somewhere. And we knew that we wanted a life where we could do more of this, experience more places, explore more cultures. So we were both open to living a lifestyle abroad. And we tried to make that happen, as I think shortly after we got married.
Okay. So where was the first place you went?
As a nomad,
Mm-hmm.
Wuhan, China. That is where we got teaching positions at the Wuhan University of Science and Technology. So we were teaching there, and that was interesting. We thought we wanted like the authentic Chinese experience. We're like, let's not, go to this job in Beijing, or I don't want to take the position in Shanghai. Let's do Wuhan. And it was just too authentic for us. It was a lot.
Okay, so this was 2017.
Yes.
So pre what we know about Wuhan now.
Yes. Yes.
What made it a lot?
There, okay, so, when you go to a new place, a different culture, different way of living, you have to adapt. And for us, there were some things that were just really hard to adapt to. And we consider ourselves pretty flexible people, but there were differences in hygiene that just was hard. It was really hard. I think seeing, one thing that we loved about it was that there were so many different like produce markets, so much fresh fruits and vegetables and teas. Like that part was the best part, along with our students. But getting used to the squatty potties, that actually wasn't too bad, you know. But hygiene wise, what really got me is that there was a lot of hopefully this is not too much for the people who are watching.
We're doing this, y'all. We do a lot on this channel, so they'll be all right.
Okay. So a lot of like hawk spitting anywhere, everywhere. In the mall, on the bus, you know, it just kind of
Like,
the thing that like comes from like the gut.
Pause.
Yes.
Because I heard there was a lot, but in my brain it was always outside. You talking about inside, like is it in the mall?
Yes. We were in one mall and just walking, and the malls are really nice. This older lady, you know, she's walking towards us, and then we hear it, you know, this sound just like haunts me now. It's a you know kind of sound, and then we're like, she's not gonna spit this on the ground. She's not. Maybe she'll, I don't know, but she's not gonna do it. But next thing you know, splat, you know, you hear it hit the floor. And I'm like, oh, this just happened. Okay, so we're just gonna walk around. But things like that, things like how kids are potty trained in some place, at least in our experience in Wuhan, you know, we've seen a lot of parents allow their kids to go number one or number two on the sidewalk, or hold them over a trash can in the food court of a mall. So it's just it was a lot.
So I want to stop here for a second, because we come to everything with all our baggage, right? We come to every situation wherever we go with all our experiences that precede this moment, right? So like I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is disgusting, right? But as like a responsible adult and content creator, how do you talk about, we've had this conversation, we said it's open, we want to be honest, but like, what is a way that you can, after living there and dealing with these hygiene things that you're not used to, have you been able to like intellectualize this in any way, or really come to a point where you're like, and this is okay because this is how other people do it? Or are you still like, nah, dog, that's gross?
The hawk spitting thing, I just can't get over that. I mean, okay, outside, I get it, you know, but in indoor spaces where you wouldn't normally see like this stuff on the ground, it was hard. The potty training thing, I had to read up on it, and I'm like, okay, it's very interesting, because even the baby clothes have a big hole on the bottom. So easy access, you know, to use the restroom anywhere they need to go at any time. And I thought that was interesting. And because of that practice, they're potty trained so much earlier than, let's say, kids in the US. So I can understand some of the practices. I can even appreciate them and just say, okay, this is different, you know, not for me, but I understand, and I can appreciate, you know, how this culture handles what they do.
Okay. So I am hearing, like I said, there's a benefit, like they potty train earlier. So they're maybe going to the bathroom in a food court. Well, maybe you can see a child going to the bathroom while you're eating, but like for this child, the experience is it's a shorter experience. And so
yeah,
they get out of their, I can't speak to kids because I don't have kids, but like that developmental stage is shorter, happens quicker, and then they move on to some other developmental stage. Okay, so like I see the benefit, I get it, but you're right, like the spitting.
It still haunts me. Like after, you know, our contracts were over, we're like, we are not renewing, and the cheapest plane ticket was to Chiang Mai, and we went immediately. And I didn't realize that a lot of people from China vacation in Thailand as well. So we're just like walking down the street and I hear, and I'm like, oh God, no. Like, I thought we got away from this. But yeah, so that still just kind of grosses me out.
Okay. All right. No judgment here. That's fair.
Look, it's not even the worst of it, but
okay, so my audience, I thought my audience was down and we were going to be like, yes, tell us more. They have clearly said, we do not want to hear about this.
Okay. All right. We'll stop it there. We'll save it for a different time.
So Wuhan, food was great. Some other things were not great. Was there ever a point when you were there where you were like, we should go back home? Like, what's America talking about?
That we should go back home to the US? No. We thought, okay, we don't want to stay here long term. But nothing at that point made us want to go back home. At the very least, we're going to the next country.
Okay. All right. And how long was your time in Wuhan?
8 months.
Okay.
8 months.
Oh, yeah. Simi asked right when I asked. Okay. So 8 months later, you were like, anywhere but here.
Yeah. They wanted us to stay and love the students. Like they were the best part of the experience there. But we were just ready to move on.
Okay. They really don't want to hear this. Y'all, we leaving. I can't say we're not going to get back to bodily functions later on, but we're going to leave this part of the conversation for now.
Okay.
So wherever it happens, whatever happens. All right. So you go to Chiang Mai.
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through what you loved about Chiang
Mai. Well, for one, the sky, the air quality was just a lot better from where we had just left. Mm-hmm. So it was almost as if we hadn't seen sun in 8 months just because of the climate that we were in. So the weather is lovely. The people are great. The food is amazing. Quality of life, cost of living, super affordable. And Chiang Mai, it's safe. That's another one. And there's a lot of Western amenities. Like there's varying levels of quality of life, depending on, how much you have, or how much you want to spend. There's a lot there that attracts Western tourists.
Okay. I laughed when you said about the air quality because I went to Chiang Mai during burning season and it was like,
oh, I know that's for those few months.
Woo, child. I took a photo once and a friend of mine was like, I thought that was a wall behind you. I was like, no, baby, that's just the air. Like I was on a rooftop, so you could see like the air in the distance was just black. He's like, I thought you were in front of like a beige wall. And I was like, no, that's literally the air. But like you said, it's a few months. It's in the spring, it's a few months. Other than that.
It was an improvement from where we had just left. So it was like, okay, this is cool.
Okay. So what was it about? Why wasn't Chiang Mai your permanent home?
Well, for one, we weren't done traveling.
Okay.
But Chiang Mai, I think, is on the top of our favorite places. We were we got connected. I think the first time we were there, it was from a visit during Spring Festival in China. We went to Thailand and we went to Indonesia, and we met a beautiful soul, Kedra, and she was Kedra, yes. So, and connected with her and the group out there, and going to Sunday dinners, like that was just like a piece of home abroad. So the community there we loved completely, but we were still interested in seeing more of the world. But traveling there kind of, like you are a result of your combined experiences, and we really appreciated our time in Chiang Mai, and it's definitely a place that we would return. But our goal ultimately is traveling around to find a few places that we can call home. So I wouldn't take Chiang Mai off the list, but we weren't ready to settle down there.
Okay. So where to next?
From Chiang Mai?
Yeah. Where you spent a good amount of time.
Okay. We actually, one of my friends was getting married in Colombia. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of knew Okay, in February of, I can't remember what year, it's like, we need to make our way to this side of the world. So we went to her wedding in Bogota
Uh-huh.
and thought, you know what? Let's just hang out here for a bit. So we went to Medellin and we stayed there for about 6 or 8 months.
Okay. And how'd you like that?
We really loved the climate, the views, because it's like deep in a valley. We didn't stay like in the hippest parts of the city, like Poblado or Laureles, but we were, I guess, a little south in a cute little neighborhood called Sabaneta, and we loved it. Yeah, it was walkable, it was safe. Again, the cost of living was great. Fell in love with eating menu del dia because it was just a part of what they ate every day. But it was maybe like, I don't know, $1.50 to $3 to get, a drink, a salad, a plate of food, a dessert, So we loved our time there.
Okay. So I had this conversation recently with someone, and we were talking about Medellin and how people love it. But when we're talking about what it is they love, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, the first thing we hear is the cost of living. And so I'm curious, what is the draw there? And maybe there isn't one, but in your experience, what would have kept you there besides the cost of living?
The weather, because it had spring-like temperatures year-round.
Okay.
You never needed an AC. Just open up a window, crack open a door, and it was beautiful. Maybe if there was more to do, we like to get out and about. If there's more to do around the city, because it's in the valley, there's a few things that are available. You can go to Guatape and climb this humongous rock that's jutting out of the earth. But probably more attractions or cities that were close by that you didn't have to hop on a plane to go to. Maybe we would stay there a bit longer. Safety in the city, like we were a little south because it was safe, but there were beautiful parts of the town that you'd hear so many different reports about crime happening, petty thefts, people being stuck up, things like that. So if you take away, some of those elements, then that's a place we'd probably consider a little longer.
Okay. So pro cost of living and weather, con things to do, and safety.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. All right. But cost of living is still like the number one, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty good. It wasn't, I think Southeast Asia had the best cost of living for us. But I think ultimately for us, we really love the weather there.
Okay. I only ask because I'm looking to see if there's, how it is when you go to a city, you keep hearing the same thing over and over again. And it's like, am I not asking the right questions? What else is going on? But I keep hearing it come back to cost of living. So if you don't know, April's birthday was yesterday. I mentioned it on IG, but I forgot to mention it here. So a happy 35th.
Yeah. Yeah, I see the messages. Thank you guys so much.
Okay. How long were you in Colombia on that trip?
I want to say our time probably totaled up to 8 months.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then after, was that mostly in Medellin? Because you started in Bogota.
Mostly in Medellin, yeah.
Okay. What was after Medellin?
After that was Mexico.
Okay. By the time you made it to Mexico, did you already have your YouTube channel?
Yes.
When did you start your YouTube channel?
Okay, we actually have a video up from exploring the Great Wall. I think that's our very first video in China, but because of the Great Firewall, we didn't do a lot of content creation there. And I think there's maybe like 1 or 2 videos in Thailand. So we weren't really serious about it then. We did a few videos in Colombia, but it wasn't until Mexico that we were more consistent with our channel.
Okay. So if you don't know, Apryl and her husband have a YouTube channel, the Yarbros, but y'all already know this because there's no way you watch my channel and you don't already know about April's. So, when you started your channel, what was your goal?
Well, we lived by this mantra: live abroad, love abroad, learn abroad. And so we wanted to share our experiences traveling with anyone who would want to watch or who was interested in traveling too, or wanted to find out more about the places that we visited. So we would share what it was like to live there, how much things cost, our impressions on a place. And traveling has just been something that we've always wanted to share with other people. We ended up having a destination wedding because we love traveling so much, and we wanted to like have this really awesome group experience with our family and friends somewhere. We ended up getting married in the Dominican Republic, and I loved the experience, and people, they shared that they loved the experience as well. And so that's just the kind of reaction that we're looking for.
Okay. So you were really trying to give people kind of an inside look, your experiences. Yeah. And is that where you would say, is that where you still are? Is that like your goal today? Still give people an inside look?
Yes. We've kind of morphed. Well, no, I guess it's always been a part of the plan, but we definitely want to continue to share. And I guess we were surprised when we started getting more traction on our channel, because we had never thought about making YouTube an income stream, or it being bigger than it was at the time. But when we saw that people were really interested in what we were sharing, we're like, okay, this is really cool. Things that we've prayed for and we talked about for the direction of our channel, it's happening. People are responding, and they're sharing with us how much they appreciate the information, or just being appreciative of the insight that we gave. And so we knew that we were on the right track.
Okay. So you're in Mexico. What city did you get to first?
We went to Merida first, in the Yucatan.
And go ahead.
We had visited prior to, I think, the second country we had ever traveled together to was Mexico. And we started in it was like New Year's Eve 2015, maybe, or 14. And went to Mexico and went to Cancun and Valladolid and Merida. And so when we were years later, when we were in Colombia and we were deciding where to go next, we're like, hey, let's go back to Merida. That was really cool. It's a really nice place. So that's where we landed. Unbeknownst to us, how ridiculous the heat gets in that region, because we had gone, around New Year's several years prior. So we were in for a surprise.
Okay. So it's funny. We were, I was with Adelia, Picky Girl Travels, this week, and we were complaining about how hot it is because it's like 85 in the city. And we're like, child, what is this heat? What is going on? And then we were like, I wonder if it's like in Merida. Like, what's going on with them right now? Because we are sweating it. Like at 85, we're like, where's the air conditioning? How do we get out of this? So I don't know what y'all doing over there, because
staying cool. That's what people try to do. Stay inside, go to the mall that has AC, or go in a pool. Like, you really have to regulate your day there.
How hot are we talking about generally? Like in the hot seasons?
I'm going to say upper 90s.
Okay.
And I believe, because I'm always in the Facebook groups, and there was a post of the temperatures for this week, and there was one day that it looks like it's going to be 104.
Yeah.
And even a 101. Oh, okay. So I'm seeing some confirmation here.
I know people love it, but a lot of people I talk to that love it there are like, well, we don't go outside between like 9 a.m. and like 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. or some hours like that. And
Mhm.
I haven't really understood what the appeal of living in a place where you can't go outside during daylight hours is.
It so again, cost of living.
Okay.
I mean, it's growing in popularity, so I don't
That's
know how
changing
much
too.
it's changing,
Yeah.
but cost of living, it is like it's like a small big town. It feels like a small town, but there's a lot of land around the area, different parts of the city that you can explore or live in. It's not too far from Progreso Beach,
Mhm.
so people have access to that if they want to go. But the central area is very, very cute, very quaint, beautifully colonial. Lots of art galleries and things down there, really great restaurants, cafes, co-working spaces. So for us, we couldn't get over the heat and the mosquitoes.
Ooh.
You live in a house with one of those electric, what do you call them? It's like a tennis racket.
Flying things. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it was, I mean, hey, if you're cool with like sweating it out every day, then it might be the place. But from as a Floridian, it was hard for me to adjust to the heat.
Okay.
So
All right.
yeah.
It doesn't sound. I I always sound like a hater whenever Merida comes up. I know this, y'all. Like, I know I sound like a hater, but when people talk about the weather and the lifestyle, I'm like, it sounds beautiful before 9 or after 7, but like, I, y'all don't go outside like in the daytime. I'm not a night person. I'm a daytime person. So that idea is like so for like, okay, all
I know
right,
it's hard. I mean, it is a great place.
yes,
Like you just the heat, is just something that was hard for us to not we just didn't want to deal with it, and you have the option to go somewhere differently or check out a
Mhm.
different climate. For us, we were like, okay, let's go check out a different area. But it's I think we saved the most money in
There,
Merida.
okay.
Mhm.
Um, and at this point, you're still teaching. You're not in school. What's going on?
Okay, so yes, we are still teaching, and I did not talk about that earlier, but we had gotten teaching positions with VIP Kid
Okay.
prior to moving abroad because we were thinking, okay, let's figure out how we're going to make income on the road, and teaching English was an easy way to start making income, and also teaching English abroad somewhere was an easy way to get your foot into another country. So that's how we started, and even after we left China, we kept up with our um, online ESL jobs, and
Mhm.
we continued to do that throughout Merida, and even after the year or so we spent in Merida, moving to Guadalajara, we were still doing that.
Okay. So you're teaching online, you're making YouTube videos.
Hmm.
What is your free time like?
I think we both love going to the movies.
Okay.
Um,
Hear that?
I just, it might sound basic, but we love it. We enjoy going to the theaters. They're really nice theaters in Mexico, and especially with the VIP component that's there. So we enjoy doing that. We enjoy checking out different cafes around the city. Usually, when we get to a new place, we just explore, do a free walking tour, walk around our neighborhood. So free time is checking out whatever cafe or restaurant we saw from like the previous week
Okay.
that we wanted to go to, or going to the movies and going to the mall, things like that.
Okay. I need your husband to like plug his ears, to walk away, to do something so he don't hear this section, so you can be
Okay.
free.
Okay. He's going to close the door.
It's not bad. He can totally hear this, but I want you. It's a question that I had
Okay.
that I want you to feel free to answer openly. Do you think my channel is for a lot of women who travel solo? Like there are non-solo woman here, but I am a solo female, Black female traveler, and so I speak to a lot of solo Black female travelers. You travel with a large piece of luggage, named your husband, right? Rondell is there. Do you think that has, in what ways do you think that has helped your journey as a female traveler?
I think, well, it's interesting. I definitely feel more secure
Okay.
with him here, with us traveling together. Um, I can't really talk to situations that I haven't been in, but I often wonder if he wasn't there, would I have got in a situation, or with something unfortunate. Well, maybe not unfortunate, but I just think more so in like getting scammed. If something would have happened like that, or if someone would have approached me if he was not with me. So there's security in being together, and essentially, having each other's back, and just traveling together and experiencing things together. But what is interesting is that sometimes, well, we're not always together. And in those instances where we're like navigating the city individually, we've had more local interactions individually than we've had together.
Okay.
So that's interesting. I think that as an individual person, more people seem to approach us, or maybe you're more approachable as an individual than you are as a couple. So I thought that was interesting, because we both experienced it, where more people would strike up a conversation or come up to you just to engage you, or to talk to you and find out, where you're from and why you're here and things like that.
Okay. Now this is the part we don't want him to hear.
Okay.
Do you think, we can't speak to experiences you haven't had, granted. Do you think there are times when traveling with him, not him personally, but traveling with a Black man, has hindered your experience more than helped it?
That's a good question. I don't know if hindered, but I would say just having different experiences, I think, would qualify in answering this question, because when traveling with another person, even in group trips, you have to be considerate of everyone that's there and what everyone wants to do, and try to make compromises in how you schedule or experience things. So when you are traveling individually, if you're a single person, you have no one to answer to but yourself, right? And do whatever it is you want to do, when you want to do it, however you want to do it. And I think that those experiences are different. So not necessarily that having a partner to travel to is a hindrance, but there's just more to consider, probably a little less flexibility, or just things are done in different times.
So not necessarily because he's a man. We don't really do men on this channel, so I got to talk a little shit. Not necessarily because he's a man, but because he's another human, right? That's what you're saying. Okay.
Yes.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, so now, second question. What are the ways in which you're a better traveler, and whatever ways in which he's a better traveler?
Okay. My mind immediately went to these roles that we fell in. So hopefully this answers the question. We've over time, we've taken control of different components of how we travel together, and we've just kind of fallen into those places, and they work. So for me, I am usually the navigator.
Okay.
I know where we're going, how to get there. I remember it's around this corner, down this block. I know how far from one place to another, and I'm able to get us where we need to be. He is better at time management.
Okay.
I am that person. If you take me to any mercado, I am going to every stall and checking out everything that's there. And he's like, we don't have time to do all of this. But that's also where I think about traveling with another person. And of course, in my case, it's my husband. It's like, if I were there by myself, I can go to all the stalls I wanted to go to and spend all the time I wanted to go to in the market or
Right.
in whatever place. And being together, we usually have an agenda or a schedule of what we're trying to do and our goals for the day, errands we're trying to run. So it's like, okay, I don't have all the time in the day to do this. So he keeps track of how much time we have to do certain things in order to accomplish our goals for whatever day, whatever agenda or video.
Okay. All right. When do you normally separate? Is it just like running errands, like normal life, or are you guys intentional about spending time alone?
We actually don't separate that often.
Okay.
But there will be times where we do have to be intentional about certain things. And I'll say, hey, I just want to go check out this place, or I'm going to this coffee shop for a few hours, or, whatever it may be. But for the most part, we are usually together and usually in a space that still allows for togetherness or intentional, like, time alone.
Okay. That's good. That's fair. Thanks for the info. There's a question that came in on Instagram at Sheeta which was, how has travel improved or sometimes hindered your relationship? So what's the effect of travel on your relationship with your husband?
We've had a lot of really interesting experiences together. So sometimes things can be stressful depending on how we're reacting to a certain situation. And that might seem hard in the moment. But then when you've gotten past it and you're able to look back at it, we're able to work through things a bit better or analyze, how that happened. And I think because of the lifestyle we live, of course, there will be frustrations, but we've been able to communicate better, more effectively with each other, because it's different than living in the States and having separate jobs to go to and then coming back, at the end of the day, where you haven't seen your partner for however many hours. We are together all the time. So that was an interesting dynamic to change from being independent. He was in Michigan. I lived in Florida, had our own separate apartments and everything. So from changing that to being together full time was definitely an adjustment. So it was hard in the beginning. I think just like how in a marriage you're combining two different lifestyles, two different personalities, and but figuring out how to do that on top of spending all of this time together has been very interesting. So yes, frustrations, but also lots of really amazing exploration, having experiences together, looking at things differently, but being able to kind of talk out what that experience meant to each of us. So I think it's definitely grown us. There's also a separate component though. We're together 24/7, but we don't have different like remote jobs. We have the same job. So we're working together, in that work capacity also. And that has been interesting as well, because we've tied together some of the income we make with travel.
Right.
And having to balance that has been a growth process in itself, because we are two separate people with different types of artistic styles, different conceptual ideas, and how we want to bring those forth in a video has been trying at times, but really amazing as well, to kind of figure out how to blend us two people professionally together.
Okay. But you're making it work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are
Okay.
making it work.
Speaking of your YouTube channel, is there a video that you can point to and say like, this is the one I'm proudest of for like any reason at all, or like this is the one, right?
My mind immediately goes to our video in Puerto Vallarta where we
Uh-huh.
went whale watching.
Okay.
One, because it was a really amazing experience. I don't know, just seeing those majestic creatures in the water. It's like, wow, I'm really close to this humpback whale. It's like really here. So we had fun shooting it, experiencing it, and putting it together to try to convey what we felt, in the video. And so that's one that we're really proud of. One that I'm really proud of as well.
Okay. All right. I know that it's hard to like, I don't think a lot of people realize that it's hard to like separate our lives from our YouTube. Like we are not our YouTube channels. Like if you create content as you travel through the world, you are not your YouTube channel, but it's also like I'm actually living that. And so I don't know
Yeah,
about you, but
it's
I
an
get
extension of your life,
it's an extension of your life. And so we get people, I know I get like comments and I'm like if you're not part of the family, like the larger family, like I promise you don't have to leave this negative comment about like my life. Like it's not just my life, it's also my art, right? Like I sat here and I edited this video and you're talking about like you don't like the transitions or some other shit. And I'm like, first of all,
right.
it's my life.
Make your own video. You make your own video and then and you share it with the world and then you can let us know how you feel.
Right. Like when you're making YouTube videos, especially if they're like about your life, it's your life. It is, you're responsible for the quality. You're responsible for all of that, for what you say. And it's really hard to be mindful, right? Because everything we say is going to be like, I'm one person saying it. My brain can only do so many things at a time when I'm saying it. But then there are maybe 10,000 people watching it and they're all looking at it from a different viewpoint. And you're never going to make everyone this. You're never going to make everyone happy, but like it's fair to say that like we show our lives, but also we don't show you everything, right? Like we show our lives, we show you a part of our lives. We're artists, something about our shit, right? Like, but like it's a door in, but it's not a completely open door is what I would say. And
right.
so
I mean, yeah, it's what we want to show, what we want to convey, what we want you to see. But yeah, it's not everything.
right.
Showing everything is exhausting and then leaves you with little to no privacy.
Exhausting.
Anything of your own, to kind of hold back or keep in, or but it is interesting because at first I didn't know how to navigate these weird comments or these negative comments. I see Asia in the comment section, and she either made a post or a video, and it included like just tools that you have as a YouTuber that you can use, and hey, can protect your peace, such as that block button to block people or ban someone from your channel that like you don't care to see the comments for.
No.
And I have to, I'm like, okay, sure, you have the right to say what you want, but this is our channel. I don't want to see it. So I'm just gonna, delete the comment. I'm gonna block the comment. It's there are some critical comments that can be constructive. We're cool with leaving those up, but for others where it's like, for my peace and my mental health, we're going to take this comment away.
I actually had someone last week in all caps in the comments talking about how like gringos need to be respectful in Mexico. We need to learn the law, learn the language and follow the laws. And I was like, please tell me what was disrespectful in the video. And he was like, It's just all of you. You need to be respectful. I'm like, you're here yelling at me about something, about not doing something that I'm actually not doing. And when I was
Right.
like, this can come off like it feels rude, but you're yelling at me. Like it's like me walking down the street or him walking down the street and me yelling at him to like, don't murder anybody today. And it's like, well, he didn't need that warning because he wasn't
Right.
right. Like, so you're in all caps telling me to be respectful, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like, you don't have to come to my video and leave a message for all gringos, right? Like you
Yeah.
don't an all caps message for all gringos because
Right.
first of all, the people who are not being respectful are not watching this video, right? They're not looking for your comments. And when they see your comment, they're not going to think you're talking to them. They're going to think you're talking to me. Like everybody thinks, right? Because it's a comment on my video.
Right. On your channel. Yep.
And when I was like, it's rude to like be yelling at me about doing something that I'm actually not doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like pretty much I'm Mexican, so you can't tell me that this is rude. Like telling you to be respectful is rude. And I'm like, I'm not telling you that you can't tell someone to be respectful. I'm telling you that like yelling at me about it on this video where you can't point to any disrespect is rude. And so there's this disconnect between the work we do and how we try to be mindful of those things and like random showing up with their own baggage, right? We bring everything we have, all of our experience with us. And so it's sometimes child, but
yeah,
it's, we move on. We move. I had a question for you. Oh, we talked about boundaries earlier. Excuse me. Is there a video that you guys get requests for that you're just like, no, I'm not doing that? Because it's like, here's one of your boundaries.
I can't think of anything immediately. There have been some suggestions to try out different content, and it didn't hit a boundary, but it was, we're like, okay, that's not really in line with what we're doing, but I guess it can be travel related. I don't know, but I can't think of one immediately that hit it. Actually, there was one that we dismissed, but then we ended up doing a video about it.
Okay.
And then great. so, so that was interesting. And but usually there might be comments about reaction videos and yeah, nothing really, off-putting or off-brand.
Okay. Reaction videos to other people's content or reaction to what?
Yeah, maybe like, so we spent, our channel grew in Mexico, most of our content for the channels in Mexico. So it might have been reactions to music videos in Spanish,
Right.
or reactions to someone else's YouTube channel, like some, everyone has opinions, right? And they let you know. They let you know. And so some people were like, oh, you guys should check out so and so's channel, they do this. And maybe some collabs, people like to share what they would like you to do. And for most part, we take in what people say and we see if this is something that is in our lane, and something that we can do. But sometimes there will be, hey, do this collaboration with so and so, you'd be great. And I'm like, well, we're not the same, we're not the right channel or not the right time, but so it's interesting, listening to like those particular comments that seem, I guess I'll just keep it very opinionated, about the direction of the channel.
Okay. Yeah, there is that too, where people want you to create the content that they as an individual want and nothing else. Like I made a video about my experience in Antarctica and someone commented, "This is boring, get back to Mexico." And I'm like, what? Like there are thousands, like you have not run out of Mexico content on YouTube, right? Like you could watch someone else's content. Instead, you want me to create
Yeah.
what you want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's you could
Yeah.
find anything you're looking for, right? Like it's out there. You can, but yes, there are. You do get we get those opinionated things. I will say the one thing that I get requested a lot, and that I don't see myself ever doing unless I'm going to move, is apartment tours. I'm not. I'm not.
Ah,
My
okay.
friends, I'm not doing an apartment tour because I deserve to have a space that is just mine, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'll take photos inside my apartment for the internet, but I'm not taking y'all on a full on view. Like I deserve to have that
Yeah.
level of privacy and space. And um, no matter how many times I've said I'm not gonna do it, I keep getting requests, and I'm like, I, I
There are a lot of people who are doing apartment tours. They could skip over to like our channel. We do apartment tours sometimes, or other channels. I know there people are looking for Mexico City. It's a very desirable place to be.
but
I just want your perspective. I don't know.
I get that, and occasionally I get asked for like a link to my to my actual apartment. Like, can you send like the rental? And I'm like, I
Yeah,
want people to understand what they're asking for when they're asking for
yeah.
things on the internet. You want me to tell you publicly on the internet where I live, like my address?
See, and that's why there are some things we post live, I guess. And then there are some things we post after the fact. So um not everything is in time.
Right.
So, if we post an Airbnb, we're probably long gone
Mhm.
from it. Or it's not ours. If it is ours, then we post it after we've left. And that's interesting too, because people, they you get you're giving a piece of yourself, an extension of your life through the videos, and people are genuinely interested, curious. They want to know more about it. It's it's like what you are doing, it inspires lots of people, the information that you share. And I can see why some of the requests come in, but like you said, you're trying to get some of those questions or those people to understand what exactly they're
Right.
asking.
Right. It and so segue. I could see that your YouTube, I assume your YouTube channel plays a large role in the highs and lows of nomad life, bringing it right
Oh
back
yeah.
to the title. Yes. So, how has having this YouTube channel, this platform, impacted your experience as a nomad?
Well, we've had to find a balance between what we enjoy creating and what people enjoy watching.
Okay.
There, like the Puerto Vallarta video, we had a blast filming, experiencing, editing, but it was one of our lowest performing videos. So it's, knowing that you might spend all this time creating this piece of art and be like, all right, I put all my blood, sweat, and tears and, hours and hours into editing this, and the response isn't exactly what you would have hoped for it.
Mhm.
uh, that has an effect on it too. So right now, because we've been able to monetize the channel, thank God, like that's been a blessing, and continue to create content about our lives, we're considering where we are going next, places that we're going to, and what kind of experiences we want to share, based on the channel, but also having a balance to enjoy where you are too. Like it's really hard to, somebody wants you to go to a place And maybe we happen to go because if it's in the schedule, we're able to do it. We wanted to go as well. But having to put together content about a place can sometimes take the fun out of experiencing a place when you're there to do it for work. So you're a nomad, you have the flexibility to go to a place, but then turning that into content can have an effect on your experience there because it's like, okay, you get it. It's work too, but you're also just trying to live as well. So it's a delicate balance.
Right. Uh, Joy Route asks, have you taken a break from YouTube only to return with low views?
Probably. Let me think about it.
I know for me that when I didn't do any videos in December, in January, YouTube was like, well, apparently you don't want this money. And so what we're not going to do is give you any money, right? Like we're not going to show your videos to anybody until you start like regularly making videos again. And
Mhm.
it's amazing how, to your point earlier, that YouTube algorithm plays such a big role, not necessarily in our own life experiences, but in what people see, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
sure people would love the whale watching video if they got a chance to see it. But
Right.
why wasn't YouTube pushing it out the way they might push out other content? And we don't have any control. There are things you could do, right? But you don't control it. And so it's hard to know. For me, it's hard to know what my people want to see versus what YouTube thought my people wanted to see. And so it's sent to them. And so
True.
it's kind of like it's hard to decide what content to make. Um, so do you feel the same way about that? That it's like,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and we were still like in the very beginning when we first moved to Guadalajara and we did a video on why we moved to Guadalajara. That video did really well. It was like it was viral for us, relative to us. And we didn't realize exactly like what was happening. Oh, it got caught up in the algorithm. It's being shown to more people and recommended. People are sharing. And we didn't know like when you have a hot video or a video that's getting a lot of views, to continue hitting,
mhm.
so, but we just kept with our schedule at that time, I think was like once a week. And none of the other videos did as well. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this video is doing well. We've got a whole bunch more
Right.
subscribers here, but it's interesting because the algorithm is a mystery.
Like, is it that this video is edited better? Is it is it that y'all want more of his content, or is it just that YouTube said today people should watch this, right?
I
Like,
don't know,
and
we check out the analytics and, the YouTube analytics allows you to see when your audience is on YouTube, like which days, what times, things like that. Gives you the demographics. So you try to, put all that together and you're like, all right, well, with this content and with this release date and time, it should do well. And then it just doesn't always happen like that. And
no.
it's a tricky thing, but definitely I think there have been times where we realize that we have to be consistent in order to have the views because when we're not, then those views aren't coming in. Maybe people don't know when to expect your content to come out. They're not looking for you, so you got to show them that you're going to be there. You're going to be producing on these days or pushing out videos regularly so that people watch.
Okay, that's actually a nice lead into Yvette's question, which is, does filming get in the way? I would say filming, editing, producing, publishing videos get in the way of enjoying the travel. It feels less organic for me when I have to pose, take the perfect picture. So how has having a YouTube channel impacted the way you experience these cities?
It definitely impacts if we have like a short amount of time somewhere, then it's like we're only there to get the content. And it's been difficult for me because I really like to um, go out and walk around, get a feel of the place, but we might not necessarily have the time to do it, So that's where like our roles kind of kick in. And then Rondell will say, hey, time wise, we have a limited amount of time to be here, but we need to get this content. We're here because we want to create content about this place and we want it to be the best possible. And so I'm like, I just want to sit in the cafe. I just want to try this restaurant. I want to go here, but it's a life that we've chosen. We've chosen to be nomads, but we've also chosen to create content, consistent content about the places that we have the opportunity to travel to. So just striking that balance again, it does impact. But I'm thankful for when we have a longer amount of time to stay somewhere, because we can chill, we can relax, we can go out to a place without taking our camera, or just always having to think about the shots and things that you're going to get. Mm-hmm. So it impacts it, but depending on like how much time we have in a place.
Okay. There was a good question earlier about, here we go. We're back on travel.
Okay.
How are you packing for nomad life? Do you have capsule wardrobes and hair products? How are you managing the weight of everything? So how much luggage do you and your wait, 2 questions. I'm gonna get shady again. How much luggage do you guys travel with, and who travels with more stuff? Which one of you has more luggage?
I think we have about the same.
Okay. But
we have a lot of stuff. We started off with way more things when we hit China first, and from every place we've been able to downsize a little bit. But because of YouTube, we often buy lots of toys to help with our content creation, and that has like its own suitcase. So it's interesting because of YouTube, plus nomad life. It's like, okay, we have all of our, just clothes. I would love to create a capsule wardrobe, and I hope to one day, but right now I don't. So I just have, a few pairs of pants, different shirts, a couple of dresses, maybe 2, like a pair of sneakers and like some sandals. So we've learned like what we don't need. And that's why we've been able to downsize from place to place, because it's like, man, I've been carrying around these pair of pants that I haven't worn for the past year. I don't need these. So we've been able to kind of work that out, but we have like luggage that's just equipment. So right now we each have a huge checked luggage piece, a small carry-on, and a book bag. A piece. So let's say like 6 pieces altogether.
If you were solo and if you weren't making YouTube videos, how much luggage do you think you'd have for a woman out there planning on the nomad life?
Probably just the carry-on and a book bag.
Okay. So you think you could live the way you're living now in a carry-on?
Yeah, that's one difference, transitioning to nomad life is when we traveled before, we were team carry-on all the way. We would fit whatever it was, even if it was a really long trip. It's like they got washers, so we can wash our clothes where we go. And being a nomad, it's like, okay, we have to check things now. When I would prefer to just be a little more lightweight. But I think if I were solo, I would be fine with just a small carry-on and a book bag.
So even as a nomad, you could still do it in a carry-on and a book bag?
I think so. Okay. I think so. A regular size carry-on.
But good for you. It's impressive because like that you got to get everything, which brings us to the next question. What's the number 1 question Black women ask?
Oh, hair products.
Let's talk about hair products. Because in a carry-on, you only got whatever fits in that plastic bag in those 4-ounce bottles. So let's talk about it.
That is true.
How has your hair care routine changed from life in Florida to life on the road? Life as a nomad.
It has suffered a bit, when you try to stock up on things and you run out of them, and you try to see what's available in whatever country you're in. And of course, not everything is available. So And different parts of the world, there's different water. Some water may be harsher on your hair than others, but I've tried to manage as best as I could, and that meant seeing what was available in whatever place I was in, and seeing what my hair liked, and just rolling with it. I'll keep it in twist for the most part, so that it's easy, it's manageable, and my ends aren't out in the wind getting split. If I can avoid it. Um, I don't use a lot of I don't do a lot of braids or add in hair. I actually would really love to do that because I feel like that would, be a relief to not have to worry so much about your hair for a few weeks at a time. But my hair just doesn't my scalp doesn't like having added hair all the time. So I don't use it. But recently we went to the States, and whenever we're able to go home, it's a prime opportunity to stock up on anything that you're missing.
Everything that you're missing. Yeah.
Yes. So I've been able to grab several products. And because we are checking luggage now, I didn't have to worry about how big it was. When in our team carry on days, I would fill my little quart size bag to the max and I use shea butter the most. So however many containers could fit in there, let's say this is a size of I don't know, it's like 3 ounces or something.
Mhm.
I fill several with shea butter because I'm like, if I only can have one thing, it's going to be shea butter. I can
Okay.
get shampoo and conditioner of something that's going to work with my hair later, but my hair needs something like that to stay moisturized.
Okay. All right. Um, where were you? What city was it easiest to find products that maybe you're familiar with, or maybe you weren't familiar with but did the job they needed to do?
I am going to say two cities came to mind, Chiang Mai and Merida. But I'm going to say Mexico because Amazon Mexico is available. And so is regular Amazon. And I was able to buy shea butter that way. And there was also a lady in Guadalajara who was selling like cocoa butters and shea butters and things like that. Thailand had a similar delivery service. Lazada, I think is the name. And I was able to get products from there. So those two places come to mind first.
Okay. All right. Was there ever a place where you were like, do I just need to go bald? Because I cannot, I guess it's just this like living here is just not working for my hair.
I'm gonna say no
Okay.
because I love my hair. I don't necessarily love the grays. But if it ever got really difficult, like in Merida, it was hot. You have makeup, it's melting off. If you try to wear your hair out, it's just, afro all day, every day. Um, so maybe I just have to manage my hair differently depending on where I am, but I've never thought of just cutting it off. If
Okay.
anything, I'm like, I'm wearing scarves, I'm twisting it up, and it's just gonna, hide from the heat.
Okay. Besides hair products, what are the things that you usually stock up on when you're in the US?
Let's say. Um, well, some of the things that we've stocked up on before. Um, Here's one that I actually haven't stocked up on, but I think about it all the time. Grape jelly. I just
Okay.
feel I might get judged if I travel with it, but grape jelly. We've had grits
Mhm.
and Jiffy cornbread. So, I mean, obviously not hair care products. Um, I also medicines. So there might be a few vitamins and things that we pick up and stock up on, or things like what's that medicine that you take before, like you have on a full onset cold and it's supposed to stop it
That,
and it's
yeah, the
Zicam,
pink
something like
one.
that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely grab those. So, we hit up the Walgreens or the CVS and grab a few things from there. But I think in the beginning we thought we needed to stock up on a lot, but after traveling so long, it's like, okay, you can find some similar things in different places. So there's not too much. Mainly it's just shea butter that I need.
Okay. All right. I feel like I stock up on a whole bunch of stuff, but like it's random. It's usually not because I can't get it, it's because of the price difference. Right. Usually if I'm going home, I might as well buy a couple of like the moisturizer I like at home because it's twice the price here. But I can get it here. It's just
No, that's a good
price.
point. Electronics. That's something that I don't know how I forgot it. It's like one of the biggest things we carry, but definitely cheaper at home.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Like, and significantly. I was looking at an iPad the other day because I broke mine. Mine was broken. We don't know how it happened. It's broken. And it was $300 cheaper to buy it in the US than in Mexico, even including all the taxes. And I'm like, that's a flight. Like I could fly there, get an iPad, see my family, and come down for the same price as just buying it here. Okay. Like,
I understand. We did the exact same thing. We needed to replace a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And for one of our border runs, we flew to Dallas and we went to the Best Buy there and picked up the laptop that we needed. It was just cheaper to get it over there than in Mexico.
Yeah. So that part of it is not awesome, but yeah. All right. So when you think of like, okay, wait, let's back up a second. We've reached your journey. I think we got as far as Merida. What was the next place where you spent a significant amount of time?
Guadalajara.
Okay.
I don't even remember how it came up on our radar, but we wanted to check out a more metropolitan city and a cooler climate. So we're like, okay. And we took a trip to Guadalajara to visit, and we're like, oh, we really like this. And we just moved there and signed a year lease. So Mexico has been like the place where we spent the most of our nomad time.
Okay. What were your thoughts? You've reached the cooler climate of Guadalajara. What were your thoughts when you got there?
That it was a bit more of our speed. Merida it's relaxing, it's slow pace. And the vibe in Guadalajara was different because it's a bigger city and there's a lot more going on. So we were happy with our decision and we were thinking, okay, we like the weather. We really like the housing stock. We like the malls that are here, how big the city is, the different neighborhoods that are available, to, the walkability of some of them. So that's kind of what helped seal the deal for us.
Okay. All right. And how long were you there?
At least a year. It probably ended up being a little more than a year.
Okay. And why did you decide to leave Guadalajara?
Because we still have a lot more of the world to see. We didn't plan on being in Mexico for as long as we were, but we were there. And then a few months into it, the pandemic started. And so we stayed. And then, we still weren't quite ready to venture to a different country. And plus, we wanted to be somewhere for a while that we could easily mail things to and from the States. It didn't turn out to be that easy because the mailing system in Mexico was a different conversation. But proximity wise, it was still close to handle some things that we needed to do. But I think really we ultimately wanted to stay just a year, and it ended up being like a little over 2.5 years. And once things started opening back up more with international travel, we were ready to continue looking for those different places in the world that we wanted to eventually call home.
Okay. So can you please give me your unbiased opinion of why Mexico City is far superior to Guadalajara?
Okay. Let's see. Mexico City. Well, I haven't lived there, but you do.
And you visited.
I visited. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a huge assumption you made right there. But I won't argue with you about it being far superior because we haven't scratched the surface of Mexico City in our trip. So I would say, from my limited experience, that it is gosh, it's huge. It's a sprawling city with so much to get into. I feel like you probably never have a boring weekend unless you wanted to. There's just so much to get into, so many different parts of the city to explore. Um, I think there's probably really great options for housing just because there's so many people there, there's so much development and great fast internet. But also it just being like the main place to be and the like most visited place I wonder, is Mexico City the most visited place
I
in
think
Mexico, or would that be like a
I
Cancun?
think it's gonna be like a Cancun. It's
Okay.
highest population, but I
But
don't
I
think
think it's also very high on the list for I'll say expats because I
yeah.
don't know too much about retirees, but
And I think
I
that's
think
growing.
it's
That's not like it hasn't been like that forever.
okay. But
Um,
it's like the culinary capital too, right?
yeah, yes. Thank you for your take on why Mexico City is better than Guadalajara in every possible way. All
No problem.
right. Okay. So actually, right now we're gonna skip forward, fast
Okay.
forward, fast forward, fast forward. You are in Costa Rica.
Yes. Yes, we are. We are in Costa Rica right now. We are traveling through some countries in Central America, and we want to make it to a few places in South America as well. This is us getting back on our original grind. Like after Mexico, after that pause, great, beautiful places. We were able to make some really great videos and experience some amazing things there. But we're back on our original plan of checking out more places in the world. So since our departure from Mexico, we've had the opportunity to visit Guatemala, El Salvador, and right now we're like only a few days into being in Costa Rica.
Okay. What are your first thoughts on Costa Rica? You're in San Jose?
Yes. My first thoughts, I have this, I don't know if it's horrible, but this is thing I do, probably many people, where you compare places. Not that you want to, but it's just what you've experienced before, how it compares to what you're experiencing now. And having just left El Salvador, it was a bit of a relief to come to Costa Rica. Where we are right now has a lot more infrastructure in regards to, the layout of the city, the streets, the highways, the buildings, amenities, like what's available to you, safety. So being here in Costa Rica has been a little bit of a relief. I'm glad we're here now. We haven't explored too much of the city yet, but it's been good so far.
Okay. Right off the bat, what's your favorite thing about Costa Rica?
Weather.
Okay. What's the weather like? What's it doing?
I expected it to be really muggy and humid because I had visited 12 years ago. And like remembering that and then seeing how things are now, of course, there's been lots of changes, but I expected it to be really humid and muggy and have issues with sweating in my hair and things like that. But the weather has been pretty nice. It's been really cloudy, but the sun has been out and a really cool breeze throughout the days. So it's been nice.
Okay. And without giving away anything you don't want to give away, it's too early for, can you share with us some of your Costa Rica plans?
We are still figuring that out. That's the beauty of being a nomad. I would say we are planning to explore more of the city, but we would love to connect with expat communities here. So there are a few places that we're thinking about on either coasts of the country, to take a trip to experience, to talk to some people and find out, what they like about living in this country.
Okay. What is your, I would say, your 2022 plan? Is it to bop around from place to place, or do you want to find a place to settle down? Someone asked earlier, like, do you miss sleeping in your own bed? Like, do you want a home base? Tell us.
Yes, we eventually want a home base, but we will be bopping around for a little bit.
Okay.
And by bopping around, I'll say maybe a few weeks at a time in a particular country, but there are some places where we anticipate we might want to stay longer, such as Ecuador. So maybe that's a longer term visit situation, and we wanted to go to Argentina too for a few months. So
Okay.
we'll see how that goes. But those are the two places where we see ourselves maybe staying a little bit longer than just 2 or 3 weeks. But in between those, we're bopping around. Eventually, we want to head over to, the world is just so big. We want to visit Africa. We want to visit Eastern Europe. And we'll see when those actually happen.
Okay. Someone asked about bopping. Yolanda asked about bopping around to Germany. Is that something that came up for you before?
Not really, but we are very open. There's been places that visited that we didn't necessarily want to go to, but were really surprised about once we got there. I would love to visit like every country in the world if I could. And I think if we are in the vicinity of Germany, we're definitely going to visit.
Okay, cool. Which style of travel do you personally prefer? Do you prefer the bopping around or the sitting still somewhere, like having a home base, being somewhere for months at a time?
I have grown to like the slow travel. So
Okay.
sitting somewhere and having a home base. Bopping around was cool in the beginning. And it's cool also because it's um, when we were back in the States, just that team carry on thing, not having to carry so much with you. That's the only headache right now, is that whenever we try to travel to a new place, we have to consider all the luggage that we have with us.
Right.
But ultimately, I've kind of fallen in love with the slow travel lifestyle, being somewhere with enough time to, get under the surface a little bit of where you are, to experience more than just the tourist attractions of a place.
Okay. Someone asked if we missed the lows. No, we haven't done the summary of the highs and lows. We're going to get there. But first, Julie had a question. Whose idea was it to leave your jobs and travel the world? You or your husband, and what's your family's reaction?
We both wanted to do it. We were both on the same page and aligned with that. So we were both gung ho to do it, and which is how we ended up in China. But family has been super supportive all the way around, and I'm thankful for that because I know that's not always the case. But we've had support of family on both sides.
Okay. Has anyone come to visit you?
We had, yes, some family visit us in Colombia.
Okay.
But I think that's the only one. Yeah.
All right. That's nice. That sounds fun.
Has anyone visited you?
My
Mexico
mom
City?
pretty much lives here. Like I wanted a 2-bedroom apartment. I wanted a second bedroom to be an office, and she was like, "But it's my bedroom." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll get like a pull-out sofa for a bed." And she was like, "I don't sleep on pull-out sofas." So there's a bed.
Okay.
And my office is my living room. Is the other what would be a dining room or a
Okay.
dining space next to the living room is my office, because it's legit, like there's a bed that is only used when she's here and there's nothing else in the room. So it's kind of like that dead space. It
Mhm.
feels like having like a child's room, but you only have custody like 1 week in a month, right? Like, why do I have a whole room for you? Like, you can't sleep on the couch. But so yes, I've had friends come visit me, and when I was bopping around a bit, I had friends meet me in different places, and that was
Oh,
nice.
nice.
But yeah, my mom pretty much, she does not want to live in Mexico City. But apparently she doesn't want to live in Florida either. So she pops up whenever
Well,
she
she
wants.
has options, and that's cool.
Does she though? Like, does she? She'll really call me, or she'll just like text me and say like, "Oh my, I'm coming on this date," and I'm like, "Okay." Usually it's like I'd like to come in the end of April, and I'm like, "All right, I'll be here end of April," and then I'll just get like a text like, "Hey, this is my flight," or an email, "This is my flight info." But it's always one-way flight info.
Oh, is it?
And I have to be like, "Okay, so I see when you're coming,
Mhm.
but when are you leaving?" And she's like, I'll figure it out when I get there." And I'm like, we like a little more details. We like a little more clarity about what this visit's going to look like.
I get that, but I appreciate her free spirit. Just kind of going with the flow
All right,
at your expense, yes, but
I'm gonna send her to you. How long you want me? Because she loves Costa Rica. I'm gonna send her down there with you, and she can go with the flow. With you, Rhonda. Yes, yes, I have temporary custody of her every other. Well, it feels like once a month. Okay, so boom, you're traveling, you're bopping around about. You like the slow travel,
Mhm.
but there's so much of the world to explore, right? And so that's one of
Yeah.
those things that gets you up and going. What during this pandemic, what has been the hardest part of traveling for you?
Once we left Mexico, it was being up to date on all of the new and changing entry requirements for different countries. Things are always changing. What we thought was one way, a week ago has changed to be something different. For example, we just got here on April 1st, but we were considering getting here on the 31st. Had we gotten to Costa Rica a day before, we would have had to comply with a lot more entry requirements, whereas April 1st, they dropped them all.
Okay.
And we didn't even realize that until we just booked the ticket and we're like, okay, we'll look at the requirements later. But we booked it April 1st, and then we were checking, okay, what do you need? Before, they were requiring insurance and for you to be vaccinated and for you to take a test and all these different things. And on the first, they dropped all of that. And so it's just making sure that you're up to date on what's required and which, if they require a test, which one do they require? How long in advance you need to have it? What are they expecting you to have when you come to the immigration agent? So that's it. Just knowing all that stuff ahead of time has pretty much been the only thing that has the greatest impact now during the pandemic and traveling.
Okay. And I would actually say that just like you might not know, it's important to remember that the airline people might not know either. And so you really got to
That's true.
make sure that we've talked about this here before, but you advocate for yourself, that you're consistently saying like, nope, as of the rules changed yesterday, these are the new rules now, and being able to look it up somewhere, because if that person was on vacation last week, they probably did not read that memo yet, right?
Spirit Airlines agent a few weeks back almost blocked us from getting into Guatemala because she's like, the federal law states da 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 da, and I'm like, nowhere on Guatemala's government website does it say that we need a ticket for onward travel. She's like, but when are you returning back to the US? I'm like, we're not. You're not coming back no. I'm like, this isn't a first. Okay. Like, it wasn't even a COVID thing. It was like, we are continuing on to another place. And she almost made us, but we had to do just that, advocate for ourselves. And then she went back and talked to her manager, and then came back and all was good.
It's interesting. Like years ago when I was coming in, it was when Mexico was giving everybody the 6-month visa. Everybody got a 6-month visa.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. I was flying down, and I'd been flying back and forth a bit at that time. And the lady at JetBlue was like, "You're not getting on this plane unless you have a return ticket, because you can't just show up in Mexico on a one-way ticket." And I'm like, people do this every day. But for some reason, this woman wouldn't like. I made it all the way to the gate, and she was like, "Where's your return ticket?" And I was like, "I don't have one." And I was like, "I can be there for 6 months, so I don't need a ticket today." And she was like, "Well, you're not getting." And I was like, "You know what? I see you. Let me buy this ticket because it's not. It's not a. I didn't feel bad about what I did because it's not a. The Mexican government does not require you to have a onward ticket when you arrive.
Mhm.
Now it helps now when you're trying to get a longer visa,
Yeah,
but that's not a requirement, or it hasn't been one that's been enforced if it is written
true.
somewhere. Um, so I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna buy this JetBlue ticket. I'm gonna buy a ticket, and then when I get on the plane, I'm going to get a refund immediately. Like as I'm sitting on the tarmac, I'm going to ask for a refund. So whatever
Mhm.
that cost, JetBlue and processing fees and credit card fees, that's on y'all. Because like I don't know when I'm coming back. I don't
Right.
and I don't need to, but you're adding this requirement and saying the only way. Okay. I was like, fine, I'll buy a ticket right now. I bought a
It's like,
ticket,
sure.
got on
Yeah.
the plane, and was like, boop, boop, cancel. Run me my money back. Whatever that cost you, I don't care. I do not care. Because you're adding requirements that aren't necessary. So
Right.
people show up every day on one-way tickets. It's harder, y'all. We're living in a world where it's harder to travel on one-way tickets, but 2 years ago, I was like, what are you even talking about? Anyway, um, let's get to like the very, very like the meat of the topic today.
Okay.
Let's start with the highs. What
Okay.
have you found to be like the best things of living a nomad life for the past almost 5 years?
I would say the freedom and flexibility that we have to travel to different places and experience cultures. Like that's the one of the biggest things. Not being stuck in a job that controls your time off and the
Mhm.
time that you have to work, the time that you have to be back to work. And so just not having that to worry about, um, and being able to experience a place for as long as we want has been, I think, the best part for us.
Okay. Um, what has been like the low where you're like, I don't like this?
Hmm. Um, let's see, because it might be something that I mentioned before, and I'm just going through my mind right now. But I would say, yeah, it was one of the things I mentioned before, the balance between how we're creating content right now and how much that involves our life,
Mhm.
our livelihood, and making things that so it's not so much of a nomad thing, but it's how we've connected nomad with livelihood in
Okay.
our situation, and having to think about content that's going to capture people's attention, to click on the video, to watch it, that supports how we're able to travel.
Okay. Are there related? Are there times when you're like, in this city for the next 3 days, we are not creating content?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But we really have to be intentional about planning that out
Okay.
and not getting, I mean, we want to produce, but that's tough. It takes time, shooting, editing, music, all that stuff, to make a video how you want it to be. Yeah, we have to definitely be intentional about saying, you know, for this time, we're not going to, create content, or we're going to enjoy the city or explore the
Mhm.
city a bit more without the cameras.
Okay. I should be starring these. Sarah wanted to know about, we'll call them your income streams. So you're making YouTube videos. Are you still teaching online?
We are not still teaching online.
Making YouTube
So
videos?
Yeah, making YouTube videos, consultations for people who either are interested in growing a YouTube channel or interested in picking our brains about living abroad. So we have that as well. We have an e-commerce shop on Etsy,
Oh,
and we're also working on a few other digital products.
okay. So I'm trying to do two things at once and actually look up your website. But what is your website?
Our website is nomadicwander.com. Actually, yeah, we have that website, which needs some work, but um, a goal would be to monetize that website this year.
Okay. All
But
right.
on there, we have a link to consultations, which can also be found on our on our Instagram page as well.
And your Instagram page is Nomadic Wonder.
It's nomadic.wander. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try to type this, y'all. This is the one that I'm typing, not actually looking at. So very high chance of it being wrong. But y'all will figure it out.
Yeah, it'll be close enough. I mean, you already have nomadicwander.com on there, so it's just nomadic.wander.
All right. So,
And that's our Instagram.
all right, there that is.
Yeah.
If you click it and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, you know why. I typed that. Okay. Let's see. What haven't we talked about?
I'm trying to think of, because some of the lows had already come out throughout our conversation. So I'm trying to, one was the fact that we have so much that we're carrying around. And we haven't, our Ubers have dropped us. They've canceled a few times because
Really?
of, how much luggage we have, even though it's considerably less than what we started with. Some places just have really small cars and it's just not going to fit, our things. So having to consider the haul and how much we carry now because of YouTube and not just, nomading and clothes and things like that. The balance between the channels, that was channel and life, because a lot of what we do is an extension of what we're experiencing. And I'm trying to think if there is any other lows. I can't think of at the moment, but I can see if I can think of any more highs.
Love those too. We love those too. And while you're thinking about that, what would you say? What advice would you give to another couple that is considering doing what you're doing? So traveling around the world, making YouTube videos, working with your partner. What would you say?
I would say, probably plan. That's going to be the biggest thing. You have to plan and separate, work life and personal life, as best as you can. And consider each other's weaknesses and strengths and how you can play to each other's strengths, or, assign roles where the strengths are continuing to be developed in a way that works for the couple to be productive, to move forward, to accomplish what they're set out to do.
Okay.
But also, even in traveling, just the nomad part, being considerate of what each person wants to do or experience or explore, because we all have different interests. And like I mentioned earlier, find me in a market any day, every day. That's not Rondell's jam, all the time. He likes markets, but he doesn't want to spend as much time as I do there.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to combine your interests and make time for those throughout the places that you explore.
Okay. We had a couple of quick fire questions that came in. So I want to get to those. Bum, 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 bum. How do you manage mail?
We don't have a lot of it. We started off on our journey using one of those online mailbox services that scans your mail as it comes in. And then if you need it physically, they'll mail it to you. We started off with that, but never really needed anything mailed to us. So we dropped the service. It's a great service, but it just wasn't serving us at the time. And right now we use family address to accept all mail.
I feel like very few people who actually start using the mailbox services actually continue using mailbox services. Most people find that they're not, like, the US mail isn't sending you stuff you actually want most of the time.
Right.
Most of the time it's
Right.
like, I don't need that. I don't need that.
Yeah.
All right. So could we talk about taxes for a minute?
We can. I'll talk about as much as I can. It's not
On
my
the-
area of expertise,
right?
but it's a part of life.
So you earn money. When you were living in Mexico, you weren't earning money in Mexico. You were earning US dollars in the US, right?
Yes.
And same for, besides Wuhan, the rest of your experiences, right?
Yeah.
So you pay US taxes?
Yes. So it's been interesting navigating that, like being independent contractors and moving from, being an employee to being an independent contractor. But yes, navigating and being responsible and up to date with paying your taxes, and then figuring out if because there's a I know I'm going to sound so ignorant because I'm not an expert in the taxes arena, but if you are living outside of the US for a certain number of days, there's something different that you do versus if you lived in the US for a certain number of days. So making sure you know what side of that you're on, and then paying accordingly. And as an independent contractor, paying quarterly or not. Dealing with those consequences if it's like once a year or any other like additional fees or penalties that come with that. So it's been definitely a learning journey, but something I'd rather put in the hands of a professional. Okay. But yes, taxes must be paid.
Taxes must everywhere you go. All right. What product do you sell on Etsy?
We sell t-shirts, some travel related, and then some have been kind of let's say culturally related, I would say. Okay. So some t-shirts, and while we were doing VIP Kid, we actually had a lot of VIP Kid gear and things for ESL teachers, and I think there might still be a few more of just ESL in general, like t-shirts and things on our Etsy, but for the most part, there's some travel t-shirts and a few mugs, some stickers, things like that.
Okay. I'm going to ask Yvette's question, but I think it's deeper into your business than I like to normally go. But if you're okay with it, we'll talk. If not, we move on past. How are you planning for retirement? I'm working on changing my mind on how we plan for our future, but it's real, so I'm curious. So do you guys do any retirement planning while you're bopping about?
At the moment, we aren't doing that much retirement planning, but the goal for us is to continue to build various streams of income so that we can be more intentional about retirement planning. Okay. Like I have what did I do? I worked in nonprofit before this, so they didn't have 401k. It was like a 403b, I think. And then I transferred that to an IRA account. So having that on the side, being able to contribute to that, but also building streams of income so that we can eventually start to be more intentional about our retirement planning is the goal for us.
Okay. Thank you for answering that. Let's see, I'm trying to see if there are any other questions. If you guys had a question that we didn't address, drop it in the comments now. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Let's see. What haven't we talked about, Apryl?
I'm trying to think.
Question?
In regard to Nomad life, and then seeing if there's any questions that pop up.
Yeah. Okay. So yesterday was 35. Woo. do you still think you'll be living this lifestyle at 40? And that's not necessarily
Right.
about the age as much as the time from now. So 5 years from now, do you
I
still
know that, and that makes a difference. It shouldn't, because it's the same. But if you say 5 years from now, or when you say when you're 40, my mind goes to two different places.
Because what, even 35 for one day, right? Like, so let's talk about when 5 years from now, you think you'll still be living this life?
So in that way, yeah, I kind of imagine that. I hope that by that time we've narrowed down a few places that feel like home for us.
Okay.
If we haven't, we're still open to traveling until we do. But I feel like with that time span, and if we continue at the pace that we're going in, then there should be some countries that we're ready to settle in. We would ultimately love to have like 3 places and invest in property, and then just kind of bounce around between those 3 places.
Okay. So I've heard Chiang Mai and I've heard maybe somewhere in Mexico. Are those 2 of the top contenders right now?
I'm going to say Chiang Mai is a top contender right now.
Okay.
Not sure. We had a great time in Mexico, but we hadn't actually, I was going to say we hadn't been to a place there that we wanted to live long term, like for 10 years. But on our way out of Mexico, one of the last places we visited was La Paz. And that was a happy little surprise.
Okay.
So, and I would say then La Paz is probably on our list. Chiang Mai and La Paz.
Chiang Mai, La Paz, and the third one, any idea, or leaving it up to?
Ultimately, I'm going to leave it up to our travels, but we have some expectations. Like we feel like we're going to really enjoy Ecuador. We feel like we will enjoy Portugal. Portugal has taken a lot of people.
It has. People get to Portugal and they're like,
And they
and
just stop.
and this is my forever. Yeah.
And possibly somewhere in Eastern Europe. We are really curious about Hungary and maybe even Bulgaria, Albania, places like that. So, we have our expectations, and then when reality hits, it might be a different story, but those are places that we think kind of fit what we want for a long-term place or a home.
Okay. Nice. So a little bit of Asia, some South America, and then
maybe something in Europe. But then again, we haven't been to Africa yet. So I don't know.
All right.
Once we can afford those ticket prices to Africa, we'll go over there and explore a little bit. And, we're open. Our minds are open to changing at any point in time. So we're just staying open.
What, I lost it. In which ways has this experience not met the expectations you had when you left?
That is a good question. I think I thought every day would be like an adventure, but it's quite different from going on vacation and living abroad. So it's whatever your everyday life looks like in the States or at home, it probably will look something similar, wherever you end up landing. And, of course, everything is not the same, but, and then you find out that, you don't want an adventure every day. I would say like China was a big, I won't go all the way back to the whole conversation of China, but um, realizing culture shock is a huge thing, and navigating that, living with that, or determining you can't. So I think maybe some expectations I may have had of other countries or just ideas that I've built up can be very different from once you're there for a long period of time. Because again, like you can be in China for a few days and, for example, feel like a celebrity. Or you can be there for a few months and feel like an animal in a zoo. So it is the time that you are someplace gives you more insight. And of course, if you have the ability to learn the language, you might hear more than you bargained for. But I would say that my expectations of what it would be like have changed based on the amount of time that you're somewhere and actually getting into your regular everyday life and out of vacation mode.
Okay. That's a really good point. And I think for me, it was something that I didn't just have to manage within myself, but also with other people. Like other people, when I started my adventures bopping around, the people I left at home thought that like every day was an adventure and every day was some kind of like fun thing. And for a while, I felt like I couldn't really share with anyone at home the things that made me unhappy or like just being unhappy because everyone, you know what I mean? It was like, but you're not at work, but you're having, you're right. Like when you come at it with the everyday is an adventure feeling, then you can create those expectations that you'll never be able to meet. Like you said, after you do this enough, you don't want every day. You need you just need a nap, right? Like you don't want every day to be an adventure. Not at all. So it's a really important point for people who are thinking about what this experience could look like for them. You can start off with every day being an adventure, but you're not going to keep that up for long. Like that's,
yeah,
it's a really hard thing to try to keep up and keep going.
That made me think of another low.
Okay.
And that low is the feeling of isolation. Going to a place where you're not familiar with the language, the culture, the customs, you don't know anybody, or you don't know that many people, can be extremely isolating. It's hard to kind of break through that barrier in the beginning, and it might just take several months, to get acclimated to a place and to find your places, right? Your favorite coffee shop or your favorite co-working space, and find friends who can relate to you in that way. I missed family.
Okay.
My parents, my siblings, my friends, and also because wherever I worked, you have those work families, your work friends, and you hang out with them all the time. I actually missed that. Not the work, but the work family that I had and the relationships I built with those people that you see and spend 40 plus hours with a week. So, you have freedom and flexibility, but then you might miss some of those relationships either from work or from missing your family and your friends, and missing big events, weddings, funerals, reunions, things like that, depending on where you are in the world. That can be a low.
So really great point. And it's a really great point coming from you, because I often hear people say like, I don't want to travel solo because I don't want to feel isolated. I don't want to feel lonely. But you can feel like that when you're with someone else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can still, you can miss people and miss experiences and miss your old life and want things to be different, even if you have a full-time or a part-time travel buddy. Mm-hmm. So that's a really good point. Yeah. So Monica says happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
And I'll send that over to you.
Oh, is that for me?
You. It's for you.
Thank
It's not
you.
my birthday. We have to rewind the clock a little bit for 35. We're not. I will send that over to
Thank you.
you. Thank you, Monica. Okay. Once again, when it gets late in these interviews, I'm like, I had a question. What was it? But this was a good one from Celeste. Do you speak any other languages? Did you pick up any of the Chinese languages when you're over in China?
No, I can identify that it is Mandarin.
Okay.
And other than that, there's only a handful of words. Like, okay, I can count a little bit, and I know how they use kind of like sign language. They use their hands for certain numbers. I know the word hair because they were fascinated with ours.
Okay.
So I can recognize that now. But yeah, we wanted that authentic experience. We got it. It was hard to pick up on the language, but we worked at a university where the kids were learning English since they were in kindergarten. So we were able to communicate that way. And other than that, Google Translate is our best friend. But in Spanish speaking countries, we can navigate those areas a bit better.
Okay. That's awesome. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I'm missing any questions in the comments. See y'all making friends in here. Miss P, she already mentioned that she worked for VIP Kids when she was doing language schools. So I think that was a question you were looking for. Veterans Art Therapy, we already talked about their income streams. So you can rewind and watch that. Let's see what else is in the comments. Yeah, Yvette said it's deflating that you feel isolation, but that if you think about it, and my experience was that when I was in countries where English was not the primary language and I did not see a large number of Black or brown people, I felt very isolated because like no one looks like me and no one speaks the language. And so like I'm always doing the work of translation in my brain, right? Or like getting out the translation app, right? So there's always that work. And that's not restful. That's not peaceful, right? Like that's not
Right.
it is a constant like I'm hearing 3 different voices right now and I understand none of them, but like which one do I need to focus on and what's happening and what's going on? That can be a little taxing. Jada wants to know how you got through the isolation.
When we're able to settle somewhere for a while, we try our best to make friends, go out. I would say the place where I felt the least amount of isolation was Chiang Mai. And that's because the beautiful community of brothers and sisters that were there. And that was just a really awesome experience to have in a different country. Lots of beautiful brown people that were experiencing what you were experiencing and were, took a leap like you took a leap. So there was a lot to relate to. When we go to a new place, I always try to plug into those Facebook groups, make friends that way, or, ask questions or read questions that have been asked. There's meetups that usually happen in those places. So I think when you're able to go out and connect with people, then you feel a bit less isolated. Okay. So that's usually our goal.
All right. The question that I couldn't remember earlier, but I remember now is, can you talk us through what context? People talk a lot about I think people glamorize the life, right? Especially when you leave the US, you're out here bopping around. People think you're on vacation every day, right? And you layer creating YouTube videos on top of that. And people see a lot of the highlights, right? And often because I think naturally the highlights are the things we capture. Like it's unless there's something where like I need evidence of what's actually happening. I'm usually not filming during a low light because I'm experiencing this low light,
Right.
right? Like it's hard to film isolation, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to film the fact that like I haven't talked to an English speaker in 3 days, and that would make my like I would not only be more comfortable, but it would be easier for me instead of having this challenge. So you're on vacation all the time, you're making these, YouTube videos, your life must be great. But let's walk through what an actual like what's a day in the life like? Like what is an average day like?
An average day usually involves some sort of content creation in some capacity. We wake up, usually have some coffee. We are really big on eating in, cooking our food. So it could be a grocery store run to make sure, our fridge is stocked. So with that, we make something to eat, and then we kind of plan out our day. And it could be a day that there's no content, or maybe we're just like, hey, we're gonna go to the movies today, and we'll maybe try this cafe or something. But other than that, it's thinking about where we are, what we can say to where we are, right? And how we can bring that experience to people in interesting and engaging ways. So we are always doing some sort of content building, just because we're at a stage now that we want to, like, we feel a little bit like we've plateaued a bit. We want to change it up a bit. So our days have been just brainstorming. Usually we'll take walks around the neighborhood to wherever we are just to make sure we're familiar with our surroundings. But there's always a little bit of work tucked into there. So, really it's not that exciting, it's not a process that people would want to watch, but we are creating and brainstorming about ideas that people would want to watch. But it's just usually chilling at home and maybe catching up on some Netflix and doing a bit of content creation.
Okay. All right. That sounds a lot like my days. Sounds a lot like it. Yeah, I think if you watch my channel, you know that like I don't do as much of like the out in the streets content creation as I would like to. Only because like it's just me, so I have to film everything myself, right? So that's the thing. And second of all, who gonna edit this video? Like where
Yeah.
who is edit who's going to edit this video?
Yeah, I can't wait until the day that we can hire an editor, because that would be so much more of our time that we'll have back. Someone who can edit our videos for us.
Yeah. Let's talk about Stacey's comment. All of y'all who are nomads on YouTube and try to talk it up like it's the end all be all.
I think it is, for us, the life we've chosen, and that we prefer much more than the lives we were living in the States, for many reasons.
Yes.
It can be, we left around the time, I think, we realized that Trump was going to be in office. And even though that wasn't my motivating factor for leaving, I think it was really a part of Rondell's reason for leaving, and also just getting away from covert and overt racism. I mean, racism is everywhere and you can't really run away from it, but you experience it differently in different places. And we prefer it. We prefer living the life that we live on our own terms. And you look like you're
Yeah, no, I think that So this comment, I feel like it comes with a lot, and maybe I'm wrong, but it feels loaded.
Mhm.
I think all of y'all just coming out the gate, it feels
Yeah.
like,
It's a very generalized comment.
right? But I don't know many YouTubers who talk it up like it's the end all be all. That might be how you perceive the video, but I talk about the struggles that I have here, but I also talk about the fact that it's a much better fit for me than living in the US. No place is the end all. No place is
Mhm.
going to be the end all be all for everybody, right?
Yeah,
Like
there's no utopia.
there is no utopia. There, like you said, there is no place where you can escape racism. Um, there, if you're watching YouTubers who make you feel like their experience is superior to yours and you feel a certain way about it, don't watch your channels. I promise. Like YouTube does a thing where
Such an easy solution.
you
Yeah.
can stop it from suggesting a channel. If you don't want, if you feel like y'all talk it up
Mhm.
like it's the end all be all, I promise you don't have to watch our channels. Like no one's forcing you to.
I do feel like on our channel, we approach some topics that some channels might not
Mm-hmm.
approach. We try to do it as diplomatically as possible. I don't think our channel is the one that's like all sunshine and rainbows. We try to present our life in a way that's honest and authentic.
Right.
But like you said, you don't have to watch the video.
I promise. I promise.
You don't have to waste my time or yours with a comment.
Also, okay, so I'm still like, I am a human. And so I respond with my humanness to all things. And there's at least once a day when I want to tell one of y'all to go to hell. Like straight, do not stop. Like, because it's not just the internet is the internet. People are people and they're becoming worse every day. I don't know why, but this is what's happening. But a lot of times, people's comments are solely to be a jerk. Like, if you're watching a video and you don't like the video, there's an X, there's a stop, there's a button you can press, and you can just be out of there. So to
Mhm.
tell me you didn't like this, or I needed to do this differently, or do that, you can literally just stop watching. And so I don't understand people who spend their time, like we only have so much time, like precious
Right.
time in our lives to tell people that I didn't like your art. Like what do you get from that? Like if you think I care beyond blocking you, I don't. Right? Like what do you get from watching a video? Even if it's only 30 seconds that you watch, what's the point of telling someone that this video wasn't what you were looking for?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they care a little bit. You know, it reminds me of any post and going to any comment section, and there's always going to be someone who was like, these people are so overrated. No one cares about this. I'm like, but you cared enough to comment.
You
You
got
know, you gave me or whoever a piece of your day. And maybe, hey, it's your time. You can choose how you want. But we do have those comments, and Rondell is usually the one who will respond with more humanness than I would.
okay.
And sometimes
Yeah.
I'm just like, there might be a little back and forth, you know. And me, I'm just like, delete, block. I don't really. That's not how I choose to spend my time. So,
All right. So right now I'm blocking Stacia because she thinks we're gonna go back and forth, talking about why are we pressed about her comment. Like her comment was rude. At the core of it, it was rude. And she wants to know why we're so pressed. And I'm like, that's not, you could stop watching. And I actually do want to address this one thing from Natalie's channel. She says, I think what they mean is that some people don't keep it real and make it seem like there are no issues. They only show the ups, but not the downs. They hype it up, but aren't being honest about their life. Yes. But when you start a comment with all of y'all, you're not saying some people. You're specifically speaking to the creator. I don't know why I'm on a tear about this today, but I think I am. Like, if you cannot be polite to people in YouTube comment sections, maybe you're not mature enough to watch YouTube videos.
Or think that you can comment without consequence when it's just like, I'm gonna block or hide you, where you feel like you're commenting, but actually you're like in a tunnel that only you can see. We can't see your comments. But I get the point of the comment that you just brought up. Me and Rondell had this conversation the other day because we went somewhere and it wasn't a place that we would recommend people go. Are we going to make a video about it? Yeah. But are we going to be all like, this country's amazing, you guys should come to it? No. Like I said, we try to be honest. Try not to have too much fluff and just careful about what we say, because people live in these places, and you're not in our tiny bit of experience doesn't hold as much weight as someone's lifetime of experience of being someplace. So we're very delicate at how we approach certain places, and only give our impression and our experience, and know that that shouldn't help you make any decisions about anything. It's just, one piece of information. But I get it. Some people, actually, we made a parody video just because it was fun to make, about how YouTubers can be, and just overly cheery and always talking about the good, but not about the bad, or over exaggerating about certain things. So if that's what she was going with at her original comment, some people do it, but not all of y'all.
Yes, all of y'all was unnecessary.
Mhm.
Here's the thing. I will cuss every single one of y'all out. You don't know this about me. I'll cuss my mama out. I don't care. And so when you come here on this BS, I really want you to know that you're speaking to a human
Mm-hmm.
who, I'm not going to give you that. Like, I literally did not know Stacia existed as a living person until this comment. So I'm not going to give her too much space, right? You know what I mean? Like, after this, we done, right? Like, I'm not thinking about her. But if you show up being super negative, like, you might get something back. Like, you just have to understand. And then I hear people saying like, oh, you were rude to someone in your comment section. I'm like, out the blue? Was I rude out the blue? Did I just come out?
Mm-hmm.
Fine. Or was I like, the person was rude to me and I was rude back? Because
there are a lot of keyboard warriors out here in these internet streets, these YouTube streets, and I'm not specifically talking about her, but I'm just saying we've received a lot of those bold comments or very judgmental comments, and they don't think you will reply. And as soon as you reply, they back off.
It's a problem.
It's like, yeah, you are talking to real people. We read your comments and we might respond to it, but the way that you came at us in a particular way, like, this is not something that we tolerate. So either we're going to come back to you with our perspective, or let you know this isn't okay, or we're not even going to let you know that it's not okay. You're just going to be deleted. You're just
not, you didn't exist a minute ago. You don't exist now. And it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. Like, truly, if you don't like it, stop watching. It's fine. Someone earlier said that, like, YouTube sounds like a job. And I'm like, it can be, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really, it can be a job, but it's a job that you're doing in front of millions of people. And it's impossible to create videos that will make everyone happy, especially if you're living your authentic truth, right? Like, someone is going to say, well, if you had gone to a different neighborhood, you would have had a different experience. Yes, but I was where I was, right? Like, I was where I was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you what I experienced. And so there's that line between, like I said before, people wanting something that you didn't give. Okay, fine. and then people reacting negatively because you didn't give them something they wanted. And it's like, we don't need, but the first one I understand. The second one, I don't
Have you
need that.
gotten any threats yet in the
Um,
comments?
I don't remember any threats now. I think I would remember that. No, you've gotten threats?
Yeah, a few. And sometimes they might appear in a filtered section of your comments.
Yeah.
So like comments that need to be approved before they actually show up because maybe there's a triggering word
Yeah.
in there. YouTube catches it. We've had a few, and I just find it so, and I literally mean a few, like maybe 2 or 3, but it is interesting, you know. And if you're not careful about this platform, it can be like you have to know how to protect your peace. You have to know how to protect your mental health. And like, we don't understand why people make comments when they could just stop watching.
Just stop watching.
But
Just
I try not to, you know, some of them you want to be like, okay, no, you know,
it's not okay. Like you're talking to me crazy, and you wouldn't say that shit to me in the streets. So what are you doing?
Yeah.
But no threats. On my Buenos Aires video, I do not look at the comments very frequent. I don't go back to the comments because they were in there saying some wild shit to me. But the video was about the racism that I experienced in Buenos Aires. So when people get in the comment section being racist, I'm like, okay, like this is
one
what I was
that you
talking about.
posted
Like
in your story. Mm-hmm.
y'all in here talking crazy to me.
Yeah. It's
about
like,
how like
I'm not racist, but racist comment.
comment. One person was like, "Oh, we're not racist." I talked about taxi drivers not picking me up. Oh, you're wrong. There's no racism here. They probably just thought you were Haitian.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I know. Like, did you just hear what you?
You not business. So that's a comment section, but I'm like, whatever happens over there, y'all got to do. Like, you can be racist. You're racist. You can be racist here. It's fine, right? Like I'm okay. Not that I'm okay with it, but I'm not going to go in there and respond to you.
Okay,
Either I'm going to block you.
Free for all, wild over there, unmoderated.
There's some truly terrible ones that I was like, oh, I have to block you because like you're talking wild. But like the average racism, I'm like, okay, you don't even see what you're doing. That's fine. Yeah, it's an interesting experience giving people insight into your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes. But when I meet people in person, they're awesome. Everyone's very nice.
We've always had really amazing interactions with people in real life. So that's the cool thing, you know, just meeting people of different cultures. You know, you're in their land, you know, expats too, you know, other people who are from the States or from where you are who speak the same language is always amazing. But we love diving into the culture when we can. Or you know, we stayed at an Airbnb that was called Grandma's House, and it was Grandma's house, but Grandma was super, super sweet and just really warm and inviting. Like, there are some things that transcend language, that you can feel from people, and those are the experiences that we cherish. Yes. So, you know, a part of that nomad life and visiting a different place, and we're not always able to capture those, and we're not always going to have a camera in Grandma's face and say, "Can you hug me again?" because it would look great on camera. You know, you just kind of in the moment and just experiencing that and reflecting on it later and appreciating, you know, the experiences you have.
Okay. I cannot believe we've been talking for this long.
Yeah, I looked at the time and I was like, "Whoa."
I only noticed, and you know why? You know what I'm gonna say, Apryl? I was like, I'm hungry. I was like, how long have we been talking? All right. Okay. So we are going to wrap it up.
Sounds good.
A lot of people get so overprotective of a country that won't protect them. It's so strange. I understand countries that are heavily indoctrinated with propaganda, but threats are too much. And that's from KNL. Yeah, I haven't gotten to threats yet. But I also wonder if having a man on your channel changes the tone and the way people respond. I don't know.
Maybe. But Rondell will get at them in the comments and
Yeah, the threats are weird. But I would say that probably 70% of my audience is women. So, and I don't think experience threatening behavior from women as much as from men. Sorry, men.
I think it was a guy. And I think he was a Mexican national because it was one of those like, you're not welcomed in our country, get out of our country, we know where you live type situations. And I'm like, okay.
All right.
I was like, I'm gonna report you to YouTube and deal with you, because I'm
I'm
like,
sure YouTube was like, that's fine. You've told Black people to leave. It's okay. We're okay with that.
just like, well, I'm covered. I'm like, I don't know about you, but covered
Yeah.
by the blood of Jesus. So I'm, I didn't take it too seriously because it was just kind of weird and out of the blue. Somebody who was just angry and I don't know, saw us in their country. And, luckily though, like I know we're doing something right when someone makes a rude comment and then our subscribers, people who support us, come to the rescue in a way and, pretty much go on the defense and like, you don't know what you're talking about. Da, 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 da. Obviously, you don't watch this channel. Da, 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 and I'm like, okay, we're doing something right. The people here appreciate the content and are even willing to speak up for us. We might not even see the comment and just notice that there's this thread happening, and then we dig into it and like, oh my gosh, so and so said this, and like, oh wow, but all these people came to support. And I'm like, okay, well, this is cool. This is a community that we've been able to build here over time of people who just appreciate the content, appreciate what we share, and want to be a part of the community.
Okay. Sharon said she saw the same thing on Tangerine Travels. Now that Maddie has her own channel, it's a different vibe, more positive for her. So maybe it is like having some toxic masculinity in the comments or like in the watchers that creates.
It's interesting because I did watch their channel before we moved to Mexico because I wasn't seeing a lot of content out there, and loosely follow their channel or their split. There was like one, and this is in regards to like the bold comments that people like to make, but she had a video and I guess she got a nose ring and people didn't like it and they let her know. And I didn't get a chance to watch the video, but she ended up making a community post about it. And I was like, oh, what's this about? And it's just people going off the rails again, running their mouth about your body. In her case, her body, and it was like, I couldn't get past the nose ring. I stopped watching the video. That's so ugly. Why did you do this? And I'm like, wow, when you expose your life on a platform such as this, some people feel entitled to making comments about you.
When like they could be washing dishes or Netflix or making a bed. Do something else, right? Like get a hobby. Go make some money. But like what you're not doing here is furthering your life in any way, right? When you're in a comment section talking negatively to creators, you are not in any way furthering your life.
Yeah. But I like what she did. She put them on blast, and we'll do that sometimes. If there's a weird comment, I'm like, okay, we're going to pin you at the tops.
I haven't tried that one.
So that everyone can see. Or, maybe we'll post a comment in a video, depending on whatever the topic is. Like, we got this comment. And no, I'm not blurring out your name.
No.
Like, if you commented it, then it's,
Mhm.
bold enough to comment it. And if it's something we want to expound upon, we're going to put you out there
Mhm. Yes.
respectfully.
Because you commented with your name attached to it, so now what?
Yeah.
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 Okay, so this theme has been coming up a lot, and it's gonna make our last question, and then we're getting out
Okay.
of here. Because child, we've been at it for a minute. People are talking about your zenness, how laid back you are, how chill you are, has been all up and through the comments. So have you always been so zen?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I've always been chill. And I think someone in one of our earlier videos, just because our personalities are so different, it probably makes me seem more zen just because Rondell is more of a bubbly personality. It comes out a lot on camera. Someone said he was like a shaken bottle of Coke, and I was like a glass of water. And we both found it funny, just like this comparison. But yeah, I've been pretty
Okay.
calm.
All right. Thank you for joining me today on this much longer chat than we had planned. I really enjoyed you. I really enjoyed having finally chatting with you.
I know. Thank you so much for inviting me
For being
onto
here.
your channel today.
And thanks for everyone in the comment section today. Y'all were generally very, very lovely. Thanks for the super chat for April.
Yeah,
And
thanks for the birthday wishes, guys.
yeah, thanks for
Y'all are great.
showing her love. Showing her some love. All right. Thanks everyone. And I will talk. You'll get a video from me sometime this week. Oh, can you give us a hint of what you're releasing this week and when you're releasing it?
So right now, Rondell, he's like the main editor because my patience is just not set up for that all the time. The El Salvador video.
Okay.
So and just before we had gone to El Salvador, they had one of like the worst killings, assassinations that they've had in like 30 years or something. And so we reflect a bit on that and just kind of what it was like to be there in the aftermath of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing. Everyone, if you're not subscribed already, go to April and Rondell's channel. I almost said April. It's both of them. April and Rondell's channel.
Yarbros. Yes.
Go to the Yarbros and check them out. And thank you, April. And thanks, Rondell, for the tech support before we started. He's there. He's being supportive in the background. We appreciate you. And thanks to everyone for watching today. Until next time, bye.
Bye.